Rick Lazio conceding in New York to Hillary Rodham Clinton. It is 11 o'clock on the East Coast in the United States, and CNN is prepared to make the following calls with the polls closing. Most of them. Al Gore has won California's big prize, 54 electoral votes. Farther west in Hawaii, 4 electoral votes going to the vice president. The situation in Oregon, it is too close to call. We cannot call that race yet, nor can we call the one in Washington State, with its 11 electoral votes. Looking to the moment at our electoral map, the vice president, by winning California, goes up over Governor Bush. Mr. Gore, 230 electoral votes. Mr. Bush, 217 electoral votes.
California, that is a state in which George Bush made a run and spent millions of dollars late in the campaign. It raised a few eyebrows. Some thought it was because they had a chance to carry it. Others said it was payback because the California Republicans were among the first group that went 2 years ago to Austin and asked Governor Bush to run and asked him to pledge that if he did run, he would not desert California the way his father and Senator Dole did. Now, in Oregon and Washington, there are 2 states where the nadir factor may or may not come into effect. And not, once again, we take 2 second-tier states, put them in the undecided column. With everything but Alaska reporting, you can see that the fate of the White House is in the hands of about 8 or 9 states that we cannot yet call.
All right, we are going to move all the way from the west coast of the United States all the way over to the east coast of the United States, where this woman has made history tonight by being elected to the United States Senate, a First Lady. Let's listen to Hillary Rodham Clinton.
I mean, wow, this is amazing. Thank you all. Thank you. You know, we started this great effort on a sunny July morning in Pinder's Corner on Pat and Liz Moynihan's beautiful farm, and 62 counties, 16 months, 3 debates, 2 opponents, and 6 black pantsuits later, because of you, here we are. You came out and said that issues and ideals matter. Jobs matter, downstate and upstate. Health care matters, education matters, the environment matters, Social Security matters, a woman's right to choose matters. It all matters, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, New York. Thank you for opening up your minds and your hearts, for seeing the possibility of what we could do together for our children and for our future here in this state and in our nation. I am profoundly grateful to all of you for giving me the chance to serve you. I will do everything I can to be worthy of your faith and trust and to honor the powerful example of Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. I would like all of you and the countless New Yorkers and Americans watching to join me in honoring him for his incredible half-century of service to New York and our nation. Senator Moynihan, on behalf of New York and America, thank you. And I thank Chuck Schumer for his generous support and friendship. He has been and will be a great champion for the people of New York, and I very much look forward to fighting by his side in the United States Senate. I want to thank both of my opponents, Mayor Giuliani and Congressman Lazio. Congressman Lazio and I just spoke. I congratulate him on a hard-fought race, and I thank him for his service to the people of New York and Long Island, and I wish him, Pat, and their two beautiful daughters well. I promise you tonight that I will reach across party lines to bring progress for all of New York's families. Today we voted as Democrats and Republicans. Tomorrow we begin again as New Yorkers. And how fortunate we are indeed to live in the most diverse, dynamic, and beautiful state in the entire Union. You know, from the South Bronx to the Southern Tier, from Brooklyn to Buffalo, from Montauk to Messina, from the world's tallest skyscrapers to breathtaking mountain ranges, I've met people whose faces and stories I will never forget. Thousands of New Yorkers from all 62 counties welcomed me into your schools, your local diners, your factory floors, your living rooms, and front porches. You taught me, you tested me, and you shared with me your challenges and concerns about overcrowded or crumbling schools, about the struggle to care for growing children and aging parents, about the continuing challenge of providing equal opportunity for all, and about children moving away from their hometowns because good jobs are so hard to find in upstate New York. Now, I've worked on issues like these for a long time, some of them for 30 years, and I am determined to make a difference for all of you. You see, I believe our nation owes every responsible citizen and every responsible family the tools that they need to make the most of their own lives. That's the basic bargain I'll do my best to honor in the United States Senate. And to those of you who did not support me, I want you to know that I will work in the Senate for you and for all New Yorkers. And to those of you who worked so hard and never lost faith, even in the toughest times, I offer you my undying gratitude. I will work my heart out for you for the next 6 years, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the steady support of so many people. I want to thank Charlie Rangel, Nita Lowey, and the entire New York Democratic Congressional Delegation, my future colleagues. I'm very grateful for the support of our Democratic statewide elected officials and my good friends, Carl McCall and Elliot Spitzer. I want to thank Shelley Silver and all the Democratic Assembly members, and Marty Connor and all the Democratic members of the state Senate. I want to thank all of my upstate friends who couldn't be here tonight, including Tony Masiello, Bill Johnson, Jerry Jennings, Mike Breslin, Mark Thomas, all the county chairs and other elected officials. And thank you to all of my downstate friends, Andy Spano and the county chairs and all the elected officials, and particularly my friends right here in New York City, the citywide officials, the borough presidents, the city council members, and two great friends, former mayors Ed Koch and David Dinkins.
Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton, having made history by being the first Lady elected to a major office, the United States Senate. Let's take a look now at the numbers. 66% of the precincts reporting, and I didn't call out the numbers.
This is the key, I think, one of the keys, Judy, that in the presidential race, Al Gore is running, even now, 1 million votes ahead of George Bush. She was running about 500,000 votes ahead of Rick Lazio.
60% there for Gore and 35% for Bush. I was talking and couldn't digest the numbers that we just showed in the Senate race.
Well, can we see them again?
Here they are. This is the
Gore
Bush race, where he's running at least 1 million votes ahead with 2/3 of the precincts in, and Hillary has about a margin of 500,000 so far. This should remind a lot of people of the last out-of-stater who came to New York and won, Robert Kennedy in 1964, who won by 750,000 votes, while Lyndon Johnson was beating Barry Goldwater by more than 2.5 million votes. These are two races, then and now, where coattails may have helped.
All right, there are the Senate numbers again with 68% of the precincts reporting Hillary Clinton, 56% of the vote to Lazio's 44. As Jeff said, it's about a 500,000 vote margin for the First Lady.
Yeah, which suggests that not only did she choose a good state to run in, because New York has 2 million more Democrats registered than Republicans, but she chose a good year to run. In a presidential year, where a candidate like Al Gore can pile up a big majority, she does have coattails to ride. If this weren't a presidential year, she might have had a much tougher time winning New York.
But that's a pretty significant margin. I mean, who knows whether it will hold. But this is 2/3 of the precincts reporting, and she's got a 12 percentage point margin.
Money, money, money. More than $21 million spent.
That's right.
Yes, but barely, that's about 1/3 as much as was spent by one candidate in New Jersey. Often New Jersey is said to have an inferiority complex. When it comes to spending money in a U.S. Senate race, boy, New Jersey can hold its head up high and say to New York, you guys are minor leaguers compared to what we did.
That's John Corzine.
John Corzine, because New Jersey has two of the most expensive media markets in the country. To run in New Jersey, you have to advertise in New York and you have to advertise in Philadelphia. Those are expensive markets, and John Corzine spent about $60 million, more than any candidate in history, to win that Senate seat.
We should repeat a news item that we reported several hours ago. Libby Pataki, wife of the governor, went on radio earlier today.
Let me interrupt you, Jeff.
Sorry?
CNN is going to make a call in the Southwest, an important call. Colorado has been won by Governor Bush. Governor Bush taking Colorado's 8 electoral votes. Please continue.
So by, let's see, the total then is 225 George W. Bush to 231. Who said this wasn't going to be a close night, a close election?
Yeah,
it is a close election.
Colorado is the state that switched from Clinton in 1992 to Dole in 1996. So it could have gone either way, and it looks like it stuck with the Republicans as it did with Bob Dole.
And those people who were saying a week ago you would be waiting for Wisconsin, waiting for Iowa, waiting for Florida, waiting for Arkansas, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, Arizona,
And
they were right.
And we have to keep looking, I think, at the Nader numbers. You know, Colorado is not one of the states that Nader was presumed to be a threat in, but those states that are still in yellow, Arizona, Oregon, Washington,
Wisconsin.
Skip over to Wisconsin.
Here's the list.
Here's the list. Ralph Nader is a factor, not in every single one of them, but in
at least
several
four.
of them.
In
At least four of
Wisconsin,
them.
Washington, Oregon, Iowa, and Maine for that one electoral vote. These are states where Nader may make a difference. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the year 2000, where the presidency of the United States will be decided by states, it's fair to say, many of whom have not had this kind of power in past presidential elections.
That's right, because and even Alaska, which hasn't even closed its polls yet. It's the last state that hasn't closed.
But which we can fairly well expect to go Republican, since it
always goes Republican.
Right.
And that's, what, 4 electoral votes in Alaska?
No, just 3. Just 3.
3.
Big state, not many people.
One of the leaders of Congress watching all that's happening very, very closely is the man from Mississippi, the Senate Majority Leader, Trent Lott. When we come back, we're going to sit down and talk with him, or he'll sit down and talk with us, and we'll take a look at the balance of power beneath this great, majestic dome, the United States Capitol building, as CNN's live coverage of Election 2000 returns in a moment.
Coverage of Election 2000 is brought to you by Akamai and America's pharmaceutical companies. For expanded coverage, log on to CNN.com. Akamai, bringing you a better internet, and America's pharmaceutical companies.
The internet is faster because of us.
The internet is more reliable because of us.
The internet is growing because of us.
The internet is more exciting because of us.
The internet goes everywhere because of us.
The internet is better because of us.
Delivering the most content from the world's biggest network, Akamai.
My sister has one of the most devastating forms of arthritis. Dangerous side effects really prevented her from taking medications that would ease her pain. At my pharmaceutical company, we work to discover medicines that are as effective for that pain, but with fewer side effects. To know that we're helping millions of people every day is the high point of my career. To know that I've helped my sister is the high point of my life.
Got yourself into too much credit card debt? Why not point and click your way out of debt with a second mortgage from Ditech.com? Whether you have equity or no equity, good credit or not so good credit, Ditech has a second mortgage with absolutely no closing costs to help you lower your monthly payments now. So point and click your way out of high-interest, non-tax deductible credit card debt at Ditech.com or call us at 1-800-71-FIX.
How many experts does it take to predict a market change?
Tickets, folks.
I'm out.
Tax laws have changed. Should I be looking at my estate plan again?
Anyone who knows me wouldn't recommend a stock like this.
Oh, not again. This guy.
Investment strategies for you. Great. Just for me and 5 million other people.
Thank you, Paine-Webber.
Losing 5-star certification. It's what every 5-star certified retailer fears most.
Why didn't you call those people back?
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah. Then why didn't you listen to customer feedback?
Why don't you study?
Study.
How's it going, Dave?
I'm okay.
5-star. With mandatory annual audits, only our best stay certified. It's better. We'll prove it.
We're watching the presidential race. We're also watching a number of Senate, House, and governor races. Very important. Let's go right to our balance of power man tonight, Wolf Blitzer.
Judy, a very close race in Washington State right now. The incumbent senator, the Republican Slade Gorton, and the former Congresswoman Maria Cantwell. Too close to call. That race we're going to be counting votes on to see who wins. Let's take a look at the balance of power in the Senate as of this minute. What we know, there were 35 Republican holdovers, 31 Democratic holdovers. The Republicans so far tonight have won 14 states. The Democrats have won 15 states. That brings the total, the Republican total right now, 49 Republican senators, 46 Democratic senators, 5 still undecided, those undecided being Michigan, Missouri, Nebraska, Montana, and Washington State. Stuart Rothenberg, so far one pickup for the Democrats tonight.
Well, a lot of the close contests are still out there, Wolf, but the Democrats have to go 5 for 5, and 4 of them would be takeovers. That's awfully difficult. And our viewers might be wondering about the presidential level in the Senate. As you know, as we noted, Missouri went for Governor Bush at the presidential level, but John Ashcroft is trailing him slightly, and Michigan, of course, has gone for Al Gore. Spencer Abraham is actually drawing a few more votes than George Bush did in that state.
All right, we'll be watching those 5 states. For now, back to Bernie on the national desk.
And Wolf, right up to Washington, the Senate Majority Leader Trent Lott. Mr. Lott, you're in Jackson, Mississippi. Let's put you in your home state. Trent Lott, you just heard Stu Rothenberg say that tonight the Democrats would have to go up 5 for 5 to snatch control of that senior body from your party. How do you see it going down? Tomorrow morning, will you wake up still in control of the United States Senate?
Well, I certainly hope so, Bernie, and it looks like we will be able to hold a majority. Of course, we've got to watch those races, and several of them may still be close, but if they have to sweep basically all of the seats that are left, I'd hope that that's not going to be likely. It's hard to tell right now whether we'll have a net pickup of 1 or a net loss of 2, but I believe that we will still be in the majority, and certainly I hope so. I appreciate the people of Mississippi re-electing me to the Senate, so I hope that we're working with the majority when we get there.
You never had any doubt about your re-election, did you?
Well, you never take it for granted, and I had not 1 but 4 opponents, and so anytime you've got 4, you got to watch it.
Any Senate races giving you a little heartburn or a lot of heartburn at this hour?
Well, I'm excited about a couple of them. I'm excited about George Allen, the former governor in Virginia, winning, and former Congressman John Ensign there in Nevada. Of course, I've been, you know, very concerned about the situation in Missouri. It's just such a difficult set of circumstances for people to deal with on both sides of both parties.
Let me interrupt you for a moment. A federal judge ruled that the polls in St. Louis could stay open until 10 their time. They closed about 21 minutes ago. Is that what you're alluding to? Because Kit Bond was he was just furious that the Democrats in St. Louis could pull this off, as he indicated.
Yeah. Well, that did seem like an unusual set of circumstances, that they would come in at the last minute and keep polls open longer and only in that one place, but not in the rest of the state. I understood that it had gone first that they were going to be open, then they couldn't be open, but it just tells you a little bit of something about what's been happening in Missouri. But John Ashcroft, John is a great guy, and I hope he wins. He's been a good senator, and he also is a part of our Singing Senators Quartet. We need him.
Senator, let me interrupt you for a moment. CNN is declaring another race in Nevada. Governor Bush wins 4 more electoral votes. He picks up Nevada's 4 electoral votes. And this is the tally as it stands now. Can it get any closer? Vice President Gore with 230 electoral votes. Governor Bush with 229 electoral votes. Trent Lott, you are one of the masterful vote counters in the United States Senate. How do you see this breaking down, say, over the next hour?
Well, looking at the maps that are still, I guess, yellow on your national map, the ones that haven't been clearly decided, I have the impression Arkansas will go for Bush. I still believe Florida will go for Bush. I'm hoping and thinking maybe Iowa will go for Bush. Plus, I believe you still have a couple other states out west, maybe Oregon, that might go for Bush. So it looks like it's still going to be very close. And I'm used to counting votes in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, but I haven't counted them in electoral colleges.
What do you make of Wisconsin? Arizona?
Well, what did you call there?
We've not called it. We've not called. Yeah. This is what we've not called. We've not called Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Iowa, Nevada, Maine.
We just called Nevada.
Just called Nevada, pardon me. Oregon, Washington, Wisconsin. There's 1 electoral vote, of course, in Maine, and Alaska closes in less than 45 minutes.
Well, and Alaska certainly will be for Bush, and I believe the first 5 you named there will probably all go for Bush. Wisconsin looks like we have a good chance there. You've got an outstanding governor, Tommy Thompson. Governor Bush had been looking pretty good there, but that's a state that Republicans don't always win, as you know, on a national level, and that would be a great victory.
Senator, it's Jeff Greenfield. You're looking at a popular vote that is almost dead even. You're looking at an electoral vote that is almost dead even. People always wonder when a race is this close, when a country in effect really is tied. What sort of mandate can a new president have when he wins, whichever one of these fellows wins, by such a small percentage?
Well, I don't know that you would have a sweeping mandate, but I think that the attitude of the American people is we will come together behind the winner. Obviously, I hope that it's George W. Bush. I believe he will bring a new atmosphere and a new approach to how we do business there. But even if it's not Governor Bush, if it's Vice President Gore, he'll be a new man, and there'll be a spirit of effort to cooperate, try to get things done for the best interests of our country. So while you may not have a sweeping mandate, it's going to be different in Washington. It's going to be different without Clinton in the presidency.
Senator, have you thought, it's Judy Woodruff, have you thought about the possibility of a tie in the electoral vote? We realize that the odds are against it, but have you and some of your colleagues talked about that?
Actually, we have not talked about it. I have seen some speculation about that in the media. The idea that I guess there could be a tie of 269 to 269. I don't believe that's going to happen. I still believe that Governor Bush will wind up getting somewhere in the range of 285 to 295, something like that.
Trent Lott, explain to us the credibility that Governor Bush would have if he is elected tonight, coming to Washington, having run as an outsider.
Well,
unquote.
Actually,
unquote.
Yeah. Well, that's happened many times before. That was true with Jimmy Carter. That was true with Ronald Reagan. That was true with Bill Clinton. And it'll be true with George W. Bush. But he'll bring a new atmosphere. I think he is going to try to bring us together. It'll be incumbent upon people like myself to work with him and to make sure that he understands how the Senate does business and that we understand what he really wants to achieve. I think we need to reach out to the Democrats and say, what can we do together for our country? I mean, Medicare reform, we need it. We know we need it. We got to provide prescription drugs for our seniors that can't afford it. Let's quit trying to see what we can disagree on, and let's see if we can find 2 or 3 really big things. Churchill would want us to do that. He would say, find a few big things and focus on that. You know, we've got a lot to be proud of. The economy is good. We don't have a war right now in the world. We have balanced the budget. We are reducing the debt. We have cut taxes some, but we need to do more in that area. So we need to take that next step to deal with Social Security and Medicare reform, do some repairs to our defense that has been damaged by the last few years of the Clinton-Gore administration, and we need to do more in returning some of the tax dollars to working Americans. If we could just do those 4 big things, I think that would be really good for the country and continue to pay down the debt and balance the budget.
Speaking of reforms, given what still might happen tonight, do you think it is time really now to look at the Electoral College and do something about that, or are you content with this system?
Well, we've talked about doing that in the past. I remember when I was in the House of Representatives years ago, probably in the 70s, we thought about it. There have been some scholars that have talked about how we maybe need to change that, but the person that wins with the Electoral College vote will probably say, this system works pretty well. Our forefathers did a pretty good job, and while I, have difficulty explaining even to my own wife why you could win the popular vote but lose the Electoral College vote and how that wouldn't be fair, I think the system still works pretty well. It has over 200 years, and before we change it, I think we need to be real careful and think about it long and hard. But I don't put it outside the realm of possibilities. I think you always need to ask yourself, is this the best we can do, or should we consider changing it?
All right. Senator Trent Lott, the Republican leader of the United States Senate, we thank you very much for joining us from
the
your
majority
home.
leader, Judy.
Did I say minority?
No, you said Republican.
No, you said Republican
leader.
But I still like majority.
All right, we'll call you majority. There's no reason not to call you that. Both the Republican leader and the majority leader. Trent Lott, thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining us. We appreciate that.
Bipartisanship already.
Absolutely. We are keeping an eye as we go to a break on so many states that we just don't have a call yet on, and we're going to talk some more about that when we come back.
Closed captioning provided by USSearch.com. Know who you're hiring with pre-employment screening from USSearch.com. Visit us on the web or call 1-800-US-SEARCH.
Tomorrow on Larry King Live, we'll look at the winners. Plus, former New York Governor Mario Cuomo and Ohio Congressman John Kasich go head-to-head. Tomorrow, 9 Eastern on CNN.
Voice to the beautiful songs of Christmas on her new album, Dream a Dream. Enjoy 19 holiday songs from the one and only Charlotte Church. Charlotte Church's Dream a Dream. Make this Christmas and every Christmas more joyous with Charlotte Church. Call now.
How undecided voters made a difference on CNN Newsstand. Tomorrow, 10 Eastern.
We're Pfizer. We're working to create a world where there will be a cure for your father's Alzheimer's, your sister's heart condition, your best friend's diabetes, where no one needs suffer from cancer or AIDS. At the newly expanded Pfizer, we're poised to do more for human health than any other pharmaceutical company in history. We're spending approximately $4.5 billion on research this year alone, and have the world's largest pharmaceutical research team working tirelessly, looking for the cures of the future. Why do we work so hard? Because we have fathers, sisters, and best friends too. At Pfizer, our company has changed, but our mission hasn't. Life is our life's work.
Just after 11:30 on the East Coast, the polls have closed in every state but one, and that is Alaska. We want to show you some important states that we are not able to call yet. The raw vote totals, 74% of the precincts reporting in the state of Florida, George W. Bush with 51% of the vote, a little over 2 million, Al Gore with 47%, 1.9 million. Another state that's still out there, too close to call, Wisconsin, 47% of the precincts reporting, and look at that, a tie, 48% to 48%. And yet another state we are not able to call, Iowa, with 63% of the precincts reporting, Al Gore leading 50% to 47% for George W. Bush. Hal Bruno is taking a closer look at some of these states tonight. Hal, what about Iowa? Put your spyglass there on the state of Iowa and tell us what's going on the ground.
Well, with almost 2/3 of the vote in, it is surprisingly close. And the reason for it is George Bush is doing better than anyone expected he would be doing in Des Moines, which should be the Democratic stronghold. Now, Bush is doing very well out here in the West. That's expected from a Republican. Al Gore is doing fine out here in the East, which is expected of a Democrat. And Al Gore is doing okay in the central part, but George Bush is doing better than expected. And that's what's making Iowa so close. Now, you go out to the state of Washington, and you get the reverse type of thing happening. In Washington, Al Gore is doing very well, not only in the Seattle area, where you expect him to, but George Bush is not doing as strong as he should in the East, which is like the Midwest in terms of the lifestyle and agriculture and so on. That should be strong Republican territory. Bush is winning it, but not as much as he should. And Gore is doing very well over here in the East Coast, along through the Olympic Mountains. Now, going to Oregon. Now, one more thing about Washington before we leave it. Don't forget, half the ballots there are coming in by mail, so we don't know what's going to happen with those. All right, going to Oregon. Oregon, again, is all mail. They're just starting to count now.
M-A-I-L.
Yeah, all right, that's right. Yeah, postage. Anyhow, Al Gore is doing very well in the Portland suburbs, which is exactly what a Democrat is supposed to do. And George Bush is doing very good out here in the South and the East, which a Republican is supposed to do. But what we don't know is this area here along the coast, and we don't know at this point what the Nader factor is going to be. Oregon could be Ralph Nader's strongest state.
And again, that is, Hal, not based on exit polls, because there were no voters to poll. They didn't go to the polling places today. As you just said, they mailed in all their ballots, or they dropped them off at selected points around the state of Oregon today.
Yeah, and the important thing about Oregon is that they count those ballots immediately, and they have to be in by today, whereas in the state of Washington, they merely have to be postmarked by midnight today.
And how long could it be, Hal, before we know the results, the final result from the state of Washington?
Well, That's our nightmare scenario that we've discussed. It could be days. There was one election there where somebody won a congressional seat, went to Washington. They had to call him back 3 or 4 days later to tell him he had lost.
Al Bruto, thank you. In Washington, Mary Madeline, Mike McCurry. It's 11:35 Eastern Time, and it occurs to me that we began this broadcast at 5 p.m. Eastern Time saying turn out, turn out, turn out. Mike?
You know, usually by this time on election night, I've been crying in my beer somewhere because the Democrats have lost, but this really is a cliffhanger. I'll tell you one thing. All the speculation about Ralph Nader and his impact is coming home to roost now. If it comes down to Wisconsin, Washington, Oregon, those states that probably should be safely in Al Gore's column, if they are not, the large part of the reason may be because people have voted for Ralph Nader and, in my editorial comment, thrown their vote away, in a sense. But if that is not the case, then really the story is going to be turnout, 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 and Al Gore's campaign has worked very, very hard these last 72 hours. I sensed, in fact, that in a way Governor Bush's campaign was coasting to the finish line. They were, you know, they took a day off last Sunday. They acted like they had it in the bag. They put out a schedule for tomorrow that had the president-elect's schedule, and I think they took a lot for granted. The Gore people out-hustled them a lot of places. That's why we have a much closer election.
Mary?
Well, of course, the Bush campaign took nothing for granted, and the schedule they put out tomorrow was a boost to the staff. Look, anyone who questions the hustle of the Bush campaign, or in particular the strategy of spreading their resources over so many Democratic states, which had been questioned, can now consider the genius of Karl Rove. If it wasn't for our picking up the Republicans and Bush picking up so many of these Democratic states, he would not be ahead right now, but still suggesting that, and they've been confident all night long, that Florida was going to remain in their column. So this was from the beginning a very long marathon effort, as Governor Bush said, and it was the most superior ground game ever envisioned and executed on in the Republican Party. And you know, let me say something about Nader. This is what the Republicans said about Ross Perot when he kicked Arheine all over the place. Nader exists as a weakness of the Gore candidacy, as a segment, a very deep segment of the Democratic Party that hasn't been addressed in the Clinton administration. And ironically, Gore moved to the left to try to meet the demands of that segment, but turned off, it looks like, some independent voters.
But no, that's not true. Nader exists as a figment of someone's imagination that somehow or another there was not a difference between Gore and Bush. There were very serious differences about how either of these candidates would populate a federal government, the kinds of policies they would pursue, and if anything, we didn't spend enough time talking about the substantive differences between these candidates, which would, I think, it made a big, big difference in the way some of those Nader voters reacted with their votes today.
You know, you can't. The candidates talked endlessly, ceaselessly, every day about their differences, and Bush made it very clear, and this is one of his winning arguments, that Gore was for expanding government. He made that argument, and it pushed him ahead through the debates and after the debates. And Gore made his argument every day that we want to have, they used to say, a chicken in every pot. We want to have a program for every person. So the distinctions were clear. I don't know what Mike's talking about.
Well, the distinctions weren't clear to those Nader voters that I think may have helped elect George Bush, if that's the way it comes out at the end of the day. And hopefully that ground war that's still underway out west will make a difference for the vice president.
Well, on that ground war, tactically, obviously, both you people are biting your fingernails, along with people in the campaigns in Austin and Nashville. What do you say has to happen for each of your men to win? Mary?
Well, since I got a manicure today, I haven't been biting my fingernails.
They got to get more votes.
They have to. Look, you know what I love about this is, this is the oldest fashioned thing in politics. All this fancy media, record-breaking expenditures on paid media, it gets down to what we used to do 25, 30 years ago. Call up people and say, did you vote yet? Oh, I'm coming by to pick you up. You will vote. It's good old-fashioned politics, and it says to people out there, your vote counts. Every vote counts. I think this is very, very healthy for the electorate. It really could help diminish the cynicism about the political process.
Mike?
And I hope it really does demonstrate maybe at the end of the day that turnout has gone up somewhat, too. I agree with Mary that this is going to be an election that reminds everyone of how important that constitutional responsibility of voting is all about.
Mary, just a quick question. As I hear you talking about Ralph Nader. You know, so often we heard George W. Bush and the people around him say that Al Gore was the epitome of big spending, liberal, and so forth. And yet, is there some contradiction when Ralph Nader is there to the left of Al Gore?
Well, I guess it points out what we Republicans have often said about the Democratic Party. You can never get too big. And I'm really predicting whatever happens with Al Gore, Nader's presence, and particularly if it's clear that he's made an impact on this election, will nudge the party even further left. This promises to be as exciting a post-campaign debate as the whole campaign was.
Well, on that point, Nader said a short while ago, Larry King interviewed him earlier, shortly past 10 o'clock this week, we become a viable watchdog party. But a point you were making earlier, Mary, Ralph Nader has set a pox on both your houses. He doesn't think either Gore or Bush cuts the mustard.
Well, that was, I believe, a cynical strategy of his. Clearly, there were huge differences, and in the end, he was saying, he sort of got in cahoots with Gephardt and the other Democratic leaders to say, vote for Democratic congressmen and senators. He knows there's a huge difference between them, but he was appealing to that kind of Ventura, that maverick, that independent voter who really does have a cynical view about politics in general. Very cynical on behalf of Ralph Nader, but he knows there's a huge difference.
I would just remind everyone who voted for Ralph Nader, if over the next 4 years they have to watch George Bush appoint people to the Supreme Court and to all of the sub-cabinet positions, all of those positions in OSHA and EPA and regulatory agencies that really count in our system of government. They watch how those positions are filled versus how Al Gore would have filled them, then they'll know how they spent their vote this election night.
You know, I think a lot of people voted for Bush because of what he is going to bring into government. Those people that he brought with him on the campaign trail, notably Colin Powell, who will be a typical kind of appointee in a Bush administration.
All right, Mary Madeline, Mike McCurry. We've seen you several times. We're going to see you several times more before this night is over. It is, what, 18 minutes before the bewitching hour of midnight Eastern Time. And we're still counting. There are still 7 states, and Jeff Greenfield has his hand in front of my face, so he wants to say something. Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry to be so impolite, but you know, I just want to point out something a little ahead of time, thanks to our staff. If Al Gore picks up Iowa and the one electoral vote out in Maine and Florida,
which I was about to say that we are giving Al Gore.
Okay, then
I will formally announce. CNN announces as we described earlier, Maine is one of the 2 states that can split its electoral vote by congressional district. We're now prepared to say that Al Gore has all 4 of Maine's electoral votes. So as you can see, the total there is 231
Is this total
Gore.
correct?
This
should it be 232?
Or should it be 232? It was 231.
Right, 232 now.
Okay, now, so here's the point.
Corrected. I'm told that the 231 is correct.
Okay.
And just at 229, this is Governor Bush. And Jeff, keep talking.
If Al Gore wins Iowa, and Al Gore wins Florida, and George Bush wins Arkansas and Alaska, we have an electoral tie. 269, 269, no one with an electoral majority, and either they find an elector to defect or it goes to the House of Representatives.
There were more than 70 mathematical possibilities that could happen, I was told, and we may be facing one of them.
Right. A couple of people have asked me, can George Bush still win without Florida? And the answer is yes, he can. He's at 229 electoral votes right now, and there are still 54, I think without Maine, 53 electoral votes out. He needs 41 more to get to 70. So he could win without carrying Florida, but he'd have to carry just about all of the rest of those states, 41 out of the 53 electoral votes in the remaining states, to do it.
This depends on a split that is mathematically tricky, because Oregon and Washington, I believe, have to also fall into Bush's column. But we are looking at a race that is so close, so late, that all of the pre-election predictions in this sense were accurate, which is to say it is unpredictable.
That's right.
Fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. And if it is a tie, boy, are we going to have a good time talking about that.
There'll be a hunt for electors. Each side will be looking for electors because look, you know, in December, the electors meet in their respective state capitals to vote. So each side will claim a moral victory if they edged out the other in popular votes, and they'll try to get an elector to defect to the winning side in the popular vote.
They won't let it stay a tie, is what you're saying.
They're going to try not to let it stay a tie because they're going to say morally the person who got the most votes from the people should win. They're going to have to find an elector who will defect. Those electors are chosen for their loyalty.
But can you imagine the onus on the person who made the switch?
Well, Jeff, how did the electors in your novel turn out?
Well, my novel wasn't quite as outrageous as what might happen with a tie. All I did was kill off the president-elect in a photo opportunity. But the fact of the matter is, the basis of all of this argument is that while states can try to punish electors who defect, you know, fines and stuff, the Congress so far, when an elector has been faithless, has in fact said, no, we're going to count the vote. Now, it's never mattered. But there is some precedent to say if there's one of these electors, let's say Bush wins the popular vote, and one of these Gore electors says, you know, it's a tie, I think I should go with the popular vote winner. He can be ostracized, he'll probably never get a Democratic Party job, but they can't stop him from casting the vote. And it is a Congress in January that decides whether the vote is valid. And so far, it looks like it'll be a Republican Congress.
I'm looking, speaking of a potential tie, I'm looking at the Republican pollster, Alex Gage, working with Fred Steeper, who predicted just this scenario about a week and a half ago. And he figured it out, and it is coming to fruition almost exactly as he predicted. Of course, there's still 6 or 7 states out.
Including Florida.
Including Florida, which is a big one. And he had given that to Al Gore, and he still had a tie.
That's how it works out. And that if Bush takes Florida, you know, not only will there be a lot of exit poll and people who may have a new job, but it won't happen.
Oh, boy.
Let me interrupt our conversation. Arizona now, CNN declares, goes to Governor Bush. Arizona's 8 electoral votes in the governor's column.
And that is a significant win because Arizona had voted Republican in every election from 1948 for since Harry Truman. It voted for Harry Truman, then it voted Republican in every election after that until it voted for Bill Clinton in 1996. And now it's gone back into the Republican column.
Home of John McCain. He represents that state in the United States Senate. And the primary there, no surprise, John McCain beat George Bush by almost 25 points.
Yeah, actually what happened in Arizona is interesting because they have a lot of seniors who have retired and live in Arizona. It appears from our exit polling that they voted heavily for George Bush and they put him over. What carried the state for Bill Clinton in 1996 was a heavy vote among Hispanic Americans who voted very heavily Democratic. So you had a Hispanic Democratic vote and a senior vote that was heavily Republican. It appears that the seniors have won it this time.
But what'll be interesting to find out is why it took so long to fall into the Bush column. It'll be interesting to look at those numbers.
We do have the senior vote in Arizona. Let's take a look at what our exit poll showed among voters over 65 in Arizona. They were the key to the Bush victory. 57% of them voted for Bush, 40% for Gore. Now remember that the Social Security issue, the Medicare issue, the prescription drugs issue was supposed to pay off handsomely for Al Gore among seniors. Certainly didn't work that way in Arizona because the seniors in Arizona voted very strongly for George Bush and delivered that state to him. So don't take the senior vote for granted. Even for the Democrats this year, Social Security issue didn't work the way a lot of people predicted.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from, or talk with, I should say, the Republican Speaker of the House of Representatives, Dennis Hastert. We'll be back in a moment.
Coverage of Election 2000 is brought to you by PaineWebber and Akamai. For expanded coverage, log on to CNN.com. PaineWebber. Thank you, PaineWebber. Akamai, delivering a better internet.
What's my investment strategy? How about buy things before they go up?
For a personal financial plan, please press 5.
I'm going to pay for this. What was I?
This market's still got a lot of upside.
This market's going south.
Why didn't they write this last month?
Can't believe Dad thought he could check stock prices on this thing.
Okay, 2 of your stocks are up. What about the other 15?
Thank you, PaineWebber.
The internet is faster because of us.
The internet is more reliable because of us.
The internet is growing because of us.
The internet is more exciting because of us.
The internet goes everywhere because of us.
The internet is better because of us.
Delivering the most content from the world's biggest network, Akamai.
Got yourself into too much credit card debt? Why not point and click your way out of debt with a second mortgage from Ditech.com? Whether you have equity or no equity, good credit or not so good credit, Ditech has a second mortgage with absolutely no closing costs to help you lower your monthly payments now. So point and click your way out of high-interest, non-tax deductible credit card debt at Ditech.com or call us at 1-800-71-FIX.
Looking to save more and spend less this holiday season? With the Chrysler Holiday Sale, you can do just that. Because now you can save over $2,300 when you buy a new 2001 Town & Country with 4.9% financing. Or choose a $299 lease on the award-winning 2001 Chrysler Voyager. So take advantage of the Chrysler Holiday Sale today for savings that let you spend more on a real holiday priority, yourself.
Alzheimer's disease takes billions of healthy brain cells and slowly turns them into a tangled web. At our pharmaceutical company, we're trying to remove the amyloid plaque from the brain of the Alzheimer patient. And we are developing a vaccine that activates the immune system to help remove that plaque. My hope is that nobody's parent or grandparent will ever suffer from this disease again.
The United States of America still does not have a new president at this late hour. Back and forth, nip and tuck. The governor and the vice president have traded the electoral lead. Right now, Governor Bush has gone back up on top, 237 electoral votes to Vice President Gore's 231. This is the electoral map as it stands. This is the raw vote, with 66% of precincts reporting. You can see that Governor Bush has 49% of the vote, or roughly 34.2 million votes, to Vice President Gore's 48%, or 33.7 million votes.
Running as the closest since Humphrey and Nixon in 1968, Bernie.
Right, and if that was 66% of the vote, that was about 68 million votes. So it looks like we're going to have a little over 100 million voters casting ballots. It's a little higher than usual, but not spectacularly high.
Wolf Blitzer. Race is underway in the House. What's the latest?
We're taking a close look at the House races. There's one net pickup we can report right now in Long Island. Felix Grucci, the Republican, beating Regina Seltzer. This was the seat that Michael Forbes lost in the Democratic primary. He's the former Republican who turned Democratic. Let's take a look at what we can report on the balance of power in the House of Representatives right now. Very, very close so far. If you take a look at all the numbers, they're still undecided, and there's still about only about 3/4 of the seats have been determined right now. So far, we can say the Republicans have a net gain of 2 seats. We're still waiting, Stuart Rothenberg, for some seats out of the West Coast, though.
Not just the West Coast, Wolf. We've got 2 squeakers in Jersey, 1 in West Virginia, 1 in Scranton, 1 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where Heather Wilson is in trouble. All across the country, we've got a lot of close ones.
We're going to be watching all of those races right now. Back to the national desk.
All right, Wolf Blitzer, Stu Rothenberg, joining us from Aurora, Illinois, his hometown, the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Dennis Hastert. Mr. Speaker, thank you for being with us. As you hear this analysis from Stu and Wolf, what's your reaction? Republicans 2 up net at this point, but we're still waiting for some important races to come in.
Well, we're cautiously optimistic. We have been able to defend our seats in Kentucky and North Carolina that we thought that we may have a challenge. We have an interesting race in Connecticut that we may pick up a seat that we didn't expect. And, you know, we have to go in. I think we're doing as well as we can expect. It's going to be a long night. We have to see what happens in California, obviously. But I feel good about the position that we're in.
When do you think you'll have a sense of what the new House is going to look like?
Well, it might be early tomorrow morning before we really know what the
how early or how late, I should say.
I wish I know. I guess we're all looking at that crystal ball.
Yeah.
It probably won't be much before we determine who the new president's going to be.
Well, speaking of that, we're looking at a very close race. Are you surprised, Mr. Speaker, that we're looking at a race with, what, 49% to 48% of the popular vote and just a few, what is it, 231 Gore to 237 Bush in the electoral vote at this point?
Well, we just figured that this was going to be a tough race. We knew it was going to be close. We figured it was going to be close in the House, it was going to be close in the Senate, it was going to be close in the presidency. Nobody, obviously, in this election period was running away with it, but we've tried to get our themes out there, talking about balancing the budget and paying down the debt and a better education for our kids, and they've been pretty well united thematically, and I think that appeals to people.
No matter what happens from here on out, it's clear that this country is divided in a big way in terms of its view, not only of the man it wants to lead the country for the next 4 years, but in terms of philosophy. That being the case, how can the House of Representatives and the Senate do business with a president when the mandate seems to be so split here?
Well, you know, that's why we need, both in the House of Representatives and the Senate and in the presidency, to try to bring people together. You know, the important issues, education, health care, are things that shouldn't be partisan. They ought to be bipartisan. And we need to be able to bring our arms together and get those things done. You know, 90% of the issues in health care people agree on. We ought to be able to split the difference in the other 3% and get it done.
And Mr. Speaker, when you say it needs to be bipartisan, are you saying that all the fault lies with the other party here?
I'm not pointing the finger at anybody tonight. It was pretty evident in the House of Representatives this year that the strategy of the Democrats is to try to block everything so that they could run against a do-nothing Congress. We didn't let that happen, but it was awful tough to get anything done when that was the strategy.
All right, House Speaker Dennis Hastert joining us from his hometown of Aurora, Illinois. We want to thank you very much for being with us, and we look forward to
been my pleasure
talking with you very soon again once we know more about what the outcome of the House of Representatives will be. We are going to take a break, and we'll be right back with much more coverage in about 2.5 minutes. The last state, the polls close in the state of Alaska. We'll be back in a moment, and with that call.
Tomorrow in the Crossfire, join Bill Press and Robert Novak as they take a look at the new administration in the White House. Tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern on CNN.
Cyber Now. It has a smart chip inside that makes online shopping faster and easier. I'd get one if I were you. There's a super low intro rate and no annual fee. Other cards have that. But what they don't have is silicon. This chip stores all your personal info. Site passwords, profiles, mailing addresses, everything. And it sort of flashes it whenever you use the card.
That means you're not inputting all this stuff over and over.
And you're not leaving out in cyberspace either. It stays in the smart chip on your smart card. Safe and secure.
When you're approved, you can get a free smart card reader. It's how you use your card online to maximum benefit.
Apply now.
Transfer balance and get a super low 1.9% APR for 6 months. After that, you move to a rate that's still real low. Plus, Smart Visa gives you 5% cashback savings at e-merchants like Amazon, Bluefly, eToys, and more. Get fail-safe fraud protection, get online billing too.
This card is there.
It's everywhere. This smart card's a Visa, accepted at 19 million locations worldwide. You'll have a credit line from $5,000 to $100,000. Dedicated 24/7 card member service, and no annual fee. Listen, smart chip technology, it's getting smarter every day.
There's even cooler stuff coming, and you can upgrade your card from home.
So if you want what's next, first. Get the Smart Visa card from First USA. Call and apply now, or visit ordersmartvisa.com. Get a super low intro rate, no annual fee, cybersecurity, and the future.
How undecided voters made a difference on CNN Newsstand. Tomorrow, 10 Eastern.